Weintraub. I'm a former diplomat. I served in Washington, D.C. And today I'm an expert in the U.S.-Israel relations and a lecturer at the Reichman University.
Would you recap for us how you found out about this situation and your first thoughts and, everything that came to you once you were hearing about this?
Yeah, so I woke up in my house in Herzliya at 6:20 a.m. for the sound of air siren. We rushed, my wife and myself, we rushed to the safe room, yanking our kids from their beds. And we were about to go back to, I was about to go back to sleep because as weird as it sounds, air sirens in Israel are something that you get used to. So after the 2 or 3 minutes when you see it, when you hear there's no direct hit, you go back to sleep. By chance, we opened the TV, and as the TV channels they started broadcasting, went on air with news because it was a holiday, and they didn't have the staff in their studio and stations. The picture started to unfold. We all started to understand that this is not just a regular, with as much as a barrage of 2,000 missiles can be regular. This is not just a missile or rocket attack. This is also a ground assault, and that our cities and communities around the Gaza border are being overrun by terrorists, thousands of terrorists. And the picture were horrendous. They're seeing Toyota trucks with terrorists, exactly like the one of Daesh, ISIS, in our city, shooting Israelis that came back from synagogue, shooting police officers, shooting bystanders, breaking into houses. And the more and more pictures and evidence started to flow, we understood that there is a massacre going on. And obviously, feelings were, the feeling is really, really bad.
Yeah. So you are in the military. You've been called up as a reservist. What are your expectations now?
So, like every Israelis, obviously, again, we got used to these rounds of violence with Hamas. After the disengagement in 2005, we thought that there is a real window of opportunity to make Gaza into the Singapore of the Middle East. When Hamas won the election, but threw out and did a bloody coup against the government of the PLO, and threw the PLO operative from roofs, we understood that living side by side with a terrorist organization next door will be challenging. But we kept on looking for a way to find some sort of a accommodation that will give some sort of hope to the people of Gaza and will enable the people in southern Israel to go about with their day-to-day life. But in the last 3 years, these rounds were happening more frequent, and Israeli cities and communities, half of Israel is under the range of Hamas missiles, and they've been shooting thousands and thousands of them on civilian populations. The only thing that stood between a monthly massacre in Israeli civilians was the missile defense system, the Iron Dome, that saves life. But now we understand that this is a reality that we cannot live with anymore. Hamas butchered thousands of our citizens and soldiers, and kidnapped anything between 100 to 200 Israelis. And they were the lucky ones, because their neighbors and families were shot point blank I mean children, elderly, women, pregnant women, and the pictures are all out there, and you can see the ISIS operation of of the Hamas operative imitating very, very carefully the operation of ISIS. There are very graphic pictures of how Israelis are being massacred, and we also had our best unit engage these hundreds of militants in communities, and some of them fought very, very bravely in order to save the life of these citizens. Many of them paid with their life, our top units. So obviously, there is a very wide consensus here in Israel that things are about to change. The Israeli Air Force has been attacking Hamas targets in the last 24 hours, while our ground troops are making the final effort in order to complete the assumption of control of these cities and communities. And now the citizens of Israel expect the government and the army to do whatever it can to make sure this doesn't repeat. And if needs to change the rules of the game in a way that will make sure Hamas is being toppled, then this is what should happen.
Lior, one of the questions that many of us are scrambling and struggling with right now is Israel has one of the best intelligence forces in the world, and if not the best. And there's this question about how this surprise could have happened. Have you any answers for that?
Well, I don't have any answers. I don't know anyone who has answers. This is a question that concerns all of us. Right now, we know that in a few weeks, we will investigate this question very, very deeply. But we also know that our challenge right now is to fight our enemy. And that when our police and emergency services are retrieving whole families dead from their homes, retrieving more than 300 bodies from a rave party that took place just 1 kilometer from the border. It was called the Peace Festival. So we don't have time to ask this question right now. We would like to make sure this threat is averted. And then once we do that, once we'll complete this task, we'll sit and we'll ask all the tough questions, and we'll make sure, the government will make sure, and the army will make this never, ever happens again. This is a huge surprise. This is, if there's one thing we in Israel, we have the People's Army. We all participate. We pay taxes to make sure we have the best army. We send our kids there to get the best equipment, the best training, the best technology. And apparently 364 days we do. And the one day we don't, we pay dearly. And this is a region that you cannot be weak even for 1 second. If you are being blindsided or weak, you pay the price immediately, and this is what happened to us.
Yeah, indeed. One final thing to ask. So as you do what you have to do, what's your expectation in terms of your service? How does that work? Is it a certain amount of time, or is it open-ended right now? And what exactly is your job that you do?
So, JJ, I will not get into that. My interview with you is in my civilian capacity. What I can tell you that many Israelis, most of the Israelis are serving on reserve. This is part of what we do. I mean, on one day we lecture in the university, we go about our business, we eat dinner with our family, and then the phone rings, and we know this is our time to serve again. No matter what age are we. So I'm doing it gladly, whatever is needed for me. And I'm looking forward for this threat to be averted, so I can go back to my civilian life. I want to say just one comment, if I may. First of all, as an Israeli, we had probably the worst day in history since the inception of Israel. So seeing the speech of President Biden said Israel will get a complete support, and seeing the statements from the U.S. Congress and Senate is heartwarming. It means a lot, including the sending of the aircraft carrier to the region. It's bringing me to my second comment, that what we're seeing here is Iranian proxies playing on the Middle East, greater chessboard. So we have one eye towards Gaza. We have one eye towards Lebanon, where we have a major Iranian proxy. And according to a Wall Street Journal story, there was a consultation and a blessing from Iran and guidance from Iran for this attack. And we'll also keeping an eye on Iran at the same time. And this is important, I think, to all members of the international community to understand that, with a miscalculation of Nasrallah, we might thinking maybe that this is an opportunity. And we already seeing some clashes on the border. We will see a much bigger conflict in the region, which I'm positive that Israel will prevail strong with a price, but no doubt in my mind.
Well, Lior, thank you for taking time to speak with us honestly and candidly about that situation. And we are thinking about you, and we'll continue to do that and to pray as well for you and for everyone there. And we wish you the best, and we will stay in touch with you. So thank you again.
Thank you, JJ. Thank you for this opportunity. Thank you for your prayer. Thank you for the American people for the friendship and love.